it will definitely happen. There's a conversation of which season it goes in, but yes, definitely confirm that one.
Wow, that's great. Is that the first time you confirmed that?
I can't. Well, maybe.
Welcome to the official, unofficial Sea of Thieves podcast, a podcast dedicated to Sea of Thieves and other rare games, but mainly Sea of Thieves. And today you'll be joined by me, as Shiny Ray as host, Captain Blubber as co-host, and a very special guest. We are blessed to have the creative director of Sea of Thieves, Mike Chapman. Welcome, Mike.
I've never been introduced. That you blessed in terms of being on the show. That's amazing. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And trying to not give too much away today, but we'll see. We'll navigate the minefield of Sea of Thieves, I'm sure.
I think as our sort of community knows, we don't ask hard questions unless it comes to do with lore and maybe a bit of Sea of Thieves spoilers, but we trust you to navigate. You're very good at it on the podcast. And, when you do media interviews and you like to hype us up without giving away too much. But, we'll see. We'll get you to sweat.
Yeah,
so
please do.
What we're going to do is just do a few icebreaker questions just to get you warmed up, just to get, people know who you are, obviously, but to know Mike Chapman as, Mike Chapman, not the creative director of Sea of Thieves, but Mike Chapman as Mike. So, hard question, first of all. What's your favorite game of all time?
Ooh, that is a great question. I'd really struggle to pick a favorite. I think my I'll go top three.
Okay.
I think a few games mean quite a lot to me. I'd probably say Zelda Ocarina of Time, just in terms of the impact that game had on me the first time I played it. I think The Secret of Monkey Island. I think that the world, the humour, the tone. Obviously, there's a new game coming out soon, and then probably a tie between Mario 64 or the original Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, okay.
I love that.
Some good choices there. I respect those, especially Ocarina of Time. That's a personal favourite of mine. Monkey Island. I have it downloaded on Steam, but I haven't navigated it yet. I bought it in a bundle, but I'm really looking forward to actually getting my teeth into it. And of course, we had the Easter egg, didn't we? Indeed.
Well, Monkey Island, it's one of those games. If you haven't played it, it's almost like those classic movies you feel like you should have watched, even if you haven't got round to watching them. I think Monkey Island it's just one of those classic games that it's worth watching a YouTube playthrough at the very least, just to try and understand why so many people hold it in such high esteem. And I mean, it goes without saying that it's in some way, I think, obviously inspiration for how a lot of us feel about pirates at Rare. There's a lot of fans of Monkey Island. There's that crossover, right? Because of that kind of fantasy version of pirates. So it's just one of those games. And you're right, it's a pleasure to get the little Easter egg in a pirate's life.
Exactly. Yeah, I think when you say that Rare has they have a history of pirates. If you watch Captain Blubber's channel, he covers this quite in depth. Yes, he does. He's shaking his head. But it's sort of nice to see that passion shine through with Sea of Thieves, where it's a pirate game through and through, and it's got the tropes, it's got the fantasy tropes, it's got the sort of historical setting as well. Like, it's quite authentic, apart from like the magic, but we don't go into that. But yeah, like it's a pirate fantasy game at the end of the day through and through, and it's nice to see the passion come through. But no, I respect that list. I can't berate you for that. This one is another tough one. If you can work on a game that isn't Sea of Thieves, which would it be?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I would say something from Nintendo. I think I really respect historically, just the kind of the real focus on the craft of the mechanics and the nuts and bolts gameplay that really sings in all of their games. So I really, really respect that. I think I'd be amazing to be a fly on the wall in the creation of some of those classic games. I think it'd be quite surprising. It wouldn't be quite what you expect, but yeah, I think it'd be a big culture shock. To work at a studio, such a lauded studio in Japan, it'd be incredible. But yeah, if I could teleport myself and be in that time period, it'd be one of those classic Nintendo games. That would be unbelievable.
I think what I like about Nintendo games, especially the first party ones, is they're very polished. I think Blubber will agree with me. They're just, like it's just solid games all round. Like you say, the mechanics are all solid. They're all designed with intent, and they do take a while to come out. But like Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Kingdom is called now. 5 years,
Indeed.
but it's going to be stellar.
Finally,
when it comes out. Finally, yeah. Will you be picking it up?
Will. Oh yeah, definitely. And I don't want to ramble too much about it, but you kind of mentioned it there with Rare's history with pirates, and I'm not trying to draw too much of a parallel here, but I think one of the things that really stood out to me, growing up playing Nintendo games, playing Rare games amongst a bunch of other things, was just how it had this great mechanical core, but then that kind of really universal, widely understood trope. Rare dabbled in all these different tropes right back to the original Ultimate games. Mm-hmm. And I think we are big believers at that of the studio in terms of having that great moment-to-moment gameplay, but trying to wrap it in a fantastical theme that's really inviting, that you just want to get lost in. And I think that's part of the reason why Rare has kind of, done the Haunted House game, done the kind of little garden game, done the awesome, fantastical side-scrolling platformer. I love those inviting world and the colourful characters, and I think Nintendo are the masters of that, and massive respect to them.
So, as a little sort of side note to that, would you say that when you guys have gone and created Sea of Thieves and the universe, would you say there's maybe like a little bit of flavour of Nintendo's sort of style in there on how you want to create the characters in the world?
I think when you create a game, the game is it's a snapshot of the team at that point and the culture of the team, and where the passions lie and what the inspirations are. The games that Rare have made in the past and games like Sea of Thieves are a true reflection of who we are, what we believe in, what we're inspired by, what our humour is, what our values are. You can't really quantify it, but it ends up almost intangibly on the screen. Mm-hmm. And I think Nintendo would be one inspiration, but I think there's a bunch of other stuff in there. I think, but when we talked about this a lot, but when we started Sea of Thieves, there was a lot of trying to, and it's always hard to do, trying to imagine what the future of the industry was going to be, and trying to imagine what's going to be popular in 3 years' time, 5 years' time. And this part of the inspiration actually came from the PC space, mm-hmm. which is not an area that Rare has typically dabbled in, but that idea of the survival games, the shared world sandbox games. And at the time, they were a little bit rough around the edges on PC, overly harsh in terms of their mechanics. And that felt like, if we could take that and bring that, to multiple platforms, apply AAA production values, put the spirit of Rare into it, create this wonderful tropey world with this great cool gameplay. It really felt like it would stand apart. And then once you talk about the pirate theme and it brings in those broader influences of the Goonies and Pirates of the Caribbean and Monkey Island and Treasure Island and Muppet Treasure Island and like all of these things that we've all a lot of us have grown up with at least. So yeah, I think it's a mix of things. But it's kind of a bit of a cliche answer, in terms of you ask a game designer, most designers will say Nintendo as an inspiration. So I'm not saying I'm being particularly original in my answer there.
It's just a lot of people have grown up playing Nintendo games, I think, at least. I think every gamer at some point has had a Nintendo console or a handheld or even an IP that they just really like from them. So, we're not going to penalise you for that, Mike.
Yeah.
News just in, Mike's inspired by Nintendo all over our channels now.
I do.
So,
who doesn't? I love them.
Good. We love them as well. So this one's an easy one. What is your favourite content update for Sea of Thieves? Like named content update now.
I'm going to give you an answer. I love them all for many different reasons. I genuinely do. I think that each one pushes on different things because the community is so rich. There's so many different aspects of that world with PvP, PvE, the narrative, the little funny, goofy mechanics that we love so much, the tools, not rules. But I think I've got to say A Pirate's Life in terms of it's either A Pirate's Life or Anniversary in terms of what it felt like to make those, but also seeing the reception to them. I think Anniversary was an amazing moment, but I think A Pirate's Life kind of built on everything that we did with the Tall Tales and Anniversary, and again, going back to the inspirations of so many of us on the team, the chance to work with Disney, incredibly creative company that so many of us respect, on something like Pirates of the Caribbean, which so many Sea of Thieves fans will also enjoy. I think that was just dream come true. That was an unbelievable moment. So it's kind of hard not to pick that one.
Yeah.
But following close behind, I'd probably say Anniversary.
Good choices, I think. I don't know if Blubber agrees with me. Part of a pirate's life allure was that no one apart from you guys knew about it. Not even partners knew about it, and we were just told, like, make sure you watch E3, and we're like, okay. And this was in a period as well where we were getting the Duke teasers, and we knew something was coming, but we didn't realize it was going to be that humongous. And then when you play it completely fresh on day one, it's like, this is special.
Yeah, it felt like that to make it. I mean, that probably one of the most tense times throughout all of Sea of Thieves development was just that period of, is it going to leak? Are we going to have the chance to have this magical moment where we announce it on stage kind of taken away from us? Because part of the magic was how unexpected it would be. Like, oh, okay, Pirates of the Caribbean is coming to Sea of Thieves, but it's not just, a little side story. It's not just some, cosmetics. It's actually a fully fledged integration, and we brought the lore together, and we poured so much time and effort into that. It's just like, the Sunday of the show, I was thinking, are we going to get past the morning? Are we going to get to airing time without this leaking? And we did, and unbelievable.
That must
amazing.
Have been an amazing feeling, especially with E3 leaks and certain publishers and games leak, and E3 is not a surprise by the time you watch the streams. And
it was magical.
When something does surprise you, it just makes the moment that much better, doesn't it? Especially for you guys if you've worked on it for 2 years or so.
Yeah, right. It was kind of a year, really, a year of kind of full dev on it, from running around white box environments, spending time with the actors, doing all the kind of the cut scenes. We'd got members of the team, and we had a Jack Sparrow impersonator kind of come to the studio, and we'd film them animation ref to get all the mannerisms right, and working closely with the Disney team. It was an amazing ride for us as a team, and I think genuinely everyone on the team recognized it really for what it was, which was, felt like we'd got Sea of Thieves to a point where we'd almost earned the opportunity, and we kind of got this attention from the Disney team, and they were huge fans of Sea of Thieves and what the world was, and the kind of fantasy version of the pirate's life. So that felt incredible in and of itself, but there was a responsibility with that in terms of, like, this little door has opened, and like, we've got to go all the way. We've got to go all the way through. We've really got to try and pull these two worlds together, with the added responsibility of, you've got to come out the other side of it and love the Sea of Thieves world even more. That was the reason to do it, not to just go, oh, he's in Pirates of the Caribbean, great. I mean, of course it is. It's got an incredible history stretching back to that attraction in the 60s, but the idea was to leave that experience and players go, I love the Sea of Thieves world in the same way Jack Sparrow loves the Sea of Thieves world.
Right.
Jack Sparrow wants to save it because Sea of Thieves is the only world that can give him what he's always craved, which is pirate freedom that could last forever. That was really the heart of the story that we were so passionate about telling. So yeah,
no, that's
you need to be careful, because that was an incredible ride for us. And like Anniversary, Pirates Life, I mean, like, that's a podcast in and of itself. So I won't dive too deep.
Maybe next time we can have a episode just about Anniversary, like split it down the middle, Anniversary and A Pirate's Life, and discuss that, because they're both mega updates for Sea of Thieves. That's almost like not signposts, but like landmark moments, I think, that I remember. For different reasons, but yeah, brilliant choices. I agree with those. Not that you need me to agree with your opinion, but I think that basically does it for the icebreaker questions. We're going to do a little challenge now for you, Mike, just to keep you on your toes.
Nice.
We're not going to do a genie here. We're not going to give you yes or no questions that can't be answered yes or no. But
that was incredible, by the way. That was so much fun.
We got murmurs that he was doing it, and when he released it, I think I was in tears when you're ready for like quite a serious thing, and then he's like, da 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 da, yes or no, and you're like, No, yes or no. You have to answer yes or no.
I knew it would be an off-kilter, a fun one, which is why I was kind of keen to do it. But yeah, even took me by surprise. It was fun. It was fun. It was, and the editing of it was wonderful.
Absolutely, yeah. Shout out to Absolute Pixel again. You know, he'll be back on the podcast after this. Don't you worry. Okay, sorry. Back to this. The following questions you can only answer yes, no, or maybe.
Okay.
So maybe gives you a bit of an get out clause there.
I'm trying. I'll hit it head on. I'll try to.
Okay, right.
Try my best.
We'll take these in turns, Blubber. Do you want to take the first one on the list? Because you haven't spoken yet.
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, well, yeah, nice. People can hear my voice as well. Well, but this is not a question I want to know, so I think you should ask it, actually.
Okay, passing the buck. We'll go for it. So, as we know, it's very hard to stamp out the stain of greed, in the words of Ramsey. Is the Gold Hoarder fully dead now that he's been transformed into a staff, let's say?
No.
Okay. You can take the next one.
Nah, you do all of them. You made these
fine.
questions.
I made the questions. If terrible questions, I'll take the rap for it. We know that there is possibly a community decision coming later this year. We don't know when that's going to be. But do you have any plans for doing more of these into 2023?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to restrain myself of not elaborating, but I'm going to stick to the rules.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. There's the maybe clause as well. Don't forget that.
I'm trying not to use that.
Okay. Will there ever be a Monkey Island crossover? I mean, again, not just a Pirate's Life.
Maybe.
Okay. Right.
I've broken my own rules already.
Is the Sea of Thieves timeline similar to our own historical timeline? So, for example, does the current lore of the Sea of Thieves take place in a sort of, Gregorian calendar, whatever year, like 1700, for example?
I don't feel like I've got to elaborate on that one. I'll say yes.
Okay, that's fine.
But that doesn't mean they're not out of sync.
Of course, yeah. Of course,
yeah.
Different universes, but yeah, okay. Will we see the cursed captain again?
Yes.
Okay. So this one's the last
and
one.
you'll love it, and I promise you'll love it when he makes a return. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. He's gonna have an awesome moment when you see him again.
He was my favorite character in A Pirate's Life. I think
he was my favorite. He was my favorite.
Fantastic character.
Again, it was like how the talking skull on the attraction that talks to you when you're at, any of the Disneylands across the world. It's like, how can we turn basically the inspiration of that Jolly Roger talking skull? How can we turn that into a fully fledged 3-dimensional Sea of Thieves character? And wouldn't it be fun to have a pet skull that you take around? So yeah, he's definitely my favorite character. And he's in the Sea of Thieves now. So yeah, you will see him again.
Cool. I'm happy to hear that. That's made me chuffed already. Cut the podcast. I've got all the answers I need. Okay, so this one's quite easy. Sea of Thieves has appeared in many forms of print, but could we see the IP expanded to possibly TV or even other video game genres?
Yeah. Yes.
Cool. They weren't too bad, were they?
No, not at all.
Okay. Maybe they get a bit worse, but we'll see. These are onto the proper questions now. So obviously we've got you on here for a bit of Sea of Thieves and mainly lore.
Yes.
Because we're both in love with it.
Good.
Sort of converted Blubber a bit, didn't I, when we first met? You weren't too into it, and now you're probably into it just as much as I am, if not more. So yeah, obviously we've got you on the podcast, obviously, because it's you and you're the lore guy,
I'm the lore guy.
And I've been blabbering for quite a bit, so Blubber, we've got your questions first. So
yeah, sure.
And we've done them in order of priority of what we want to hear.
We're going to go straight in with the hot questions. So this
Blubber, yeah.
But this is the stuff you're most passionate about knowing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You are honored guest, but we are hosts, and we are in a position to ask our burning questions, and we take that opportunity.
Let's do it.
All right. So, as you know, there's another game coming out very soon. It's called Skull and Bones, and people are obviously going to compare that, which they shouldn't, I think. And if they did, Sea of Thieves obviously miles higher. However, there's one part of the pirate fantasy Skull and Bones does that Sea of Thieves doesn't, and they are very focused on their wildlife, including hippos. So will we see hippos in Sea of Thieves?
I don't think so. What I will say is that I agree with you. I think having seas of life, seas of wonder, and that being through the nature that you see in the world, I think there's a real opportunity there for Sea of Thieves to make the islands, the seas, the shallows, all of that feel more alive. It's actually, and I'm not saying this is everybody's favorite piece of Sea of Thieves gameplay. I'm proud of it in the same way I'm proud of all of it. But I think, one of the reasons why we focused on chickens and snakes in a really small way to begin with was, if we're going to add life, we want some life on the islands, but we want it to be a core part of the gameplay. It's not just about seeing it and it kind of scurries away, and it's not part of your core experience. We prioritized it based on it being a part of living that pirate's life. So I think anyone who's seen the art book will see, the range of wildlife, and it'd be silly of me to say that I wouldn't want to see that in the game. I absolutely would. I think the focus we put on it is how can it really serve the core gameplay, and beyond it just being a visual thing, because I think there is an advantage there for it to make screenshots look really rich and help with your immersion in the world. But I think you want that, and you want its integration into the core gameplay, which kind of means we'd make it hard for ourselves and it would take longer to do. But I think it's the right thing for Sea of Thieves.
I think you've broken his heart there.
All right.
Are you a hippo fan then, Captain Blubber? Of course you are, yeah. It's Blubber himself. I should have realised that, shouldn't I?
So maybe a flag with a hippo on it. I'll take that too. But anyways, I'm just gonna take a little peek. This one is interesting because one thing I really like about you guys is that you made a lot of promises when the game came out, and you take your time, but you do fulfill them. Like I can see, for example, or the tall tales or fishing. It's all promised very early on. One thing I'm still waiting on, and that's sailing through the waterfall. Will that ever happen?
Thank you for saying that, by the way, because I personally said a lot of things about what we wanted the game to be, and that was based on plans we had at the time, based on a vision for the game that we had then, we had before then, we have today, and we have for the future. It's the same kind of core vision, and I think for at least our most engaged players, I think if you go back to the art book, and you kind of gives you that little window into what the team were visually exploring, a lot of those things, maybe not in exactly the form they're in that art book, because they were kind of initial visual exploration, you will see that broadening of the world, whether that's the Sea of the Damned, the Sunken Kingdom, the Sirens, some of the ship stuff. I think, that art book's a real window into where our heads were at back in 2016, 2017. So yeah, I'd like, the ultimate version of Sea of Thieves that we had in our heads, and I'm still really passionate about. There's a lot of that stuff he's seen in the trailers, it's in the art book, and we're still going to push for that. The waterfall, bursting through the waterfall, I used to have a thrill saying it back then, and I still do now. I think it's an awesome, the idea of having a pirate hideout that feels like your little slice of the Sea of Thieves, I think is incredibly exciting. There's a real strong reason why we didn't do it at launch, even though we planned to do it. Was we launched the game, we had an audience for the first time outside of a small, awesome insider community. We got a real broad audience, and I think the feedback was clear around the type of things they wanted to see, which is why we started releasing very cool content, but it was really easily understood. We'll add a new AI threat, a big shark. We'll add a new ship, the brig. We'll add a new world zone, like really easy to understand things that everybody could feel the value of the moment they started playing, versus a hideout you could earn over time later in the progression journey. So we really focused on the moment to moment immediate reality of what Sea of Thieves was as a sandbox. But you've seen us go on that journey. Captaincy finally came out. We finally did it this year. We finally got that out there. And that's the foundation we'll continue to build on. So never say never. I would love to make those dreams come true.
Interesting.
I don't know when we'll get there, but would love us to get there.
Cool. And speaking about captaincy, like thanks to captaincy, we're also able to save our cosmetics on our ship. Is that like a pre-work for eventually saving our clothing options?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, like watching all the videos, watching Shiny's content, watching the discourse, reading the insider forums, you kind of piece it all together in your head, and the things kind of bubble up to the surface in terms of what people are asking for. So outfit saving will definitely happen sooner rather than later. And it's not even something that we look at and go, oh, the community want this, let's go do it. Like, the community clearly want it, and we completely agree why they want it, because why wouldn't you? It's a game where you get to express yourself as a pirate, and there's so many cosmetics and different combinations, and we want people to have power over that uniqueness that they control, both of the combinations that they make, and then them to save these different combinations. So it will happen. It will definitely happen. There's a conversation of which season it goes in, but yes, definitely confirm that one.
Wow, that's great. Is that the first time you confirmed that?
I can't. Well, maybe. There we go. There's a scoop.
We'll put it in the thumbnail. Don't worry.
Just put like the title, not podcast. Mike Chapman confirms free saving of outfits, and then just don't put a podcast and like have to skip through the whole thing to see it.
Honestly, it was awesome speaking to so many like players of Sea of Thieves at Gamescom, and I'm sure I've kind of let a few tidbits out to the many players who I spoke to at Gamescom. So yeah, no problem at all confirming that.
That's great. I'll take one more question and then I'll give it back to you, Ray. Because you talked a little bit about Rare's older IPs. I heard you say we done a garden game and we done a haunted house game, and I'm guessing you mean Grabbed by the Goodies with that one. Which I love, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
And I love the heritage ship cosmetics as well. I love putting them on. Love sailing with my Conquer ship and with my Viva Piata ship. But Grabbed by the Goodies doesn't have one. So is there any hope for that franchise to make it into Sea of Thieves with the cosmetic?
I agree with you. I really enjoyed Grabbed by the Goodies at the time, and it's kind of a little cult classic, isn't it? Yeah, I had a great time playing it when it was released as part of Rare Replay. You're right; it's not one of the world's IPs that we've explored, and I think absolutely there's hope for that. We don't have any plans at the moment, but there's definitely some Rare IP stuff coming in the near term.
Oh,
there's definitely some stuff there. Grabbed by the Goodies isn't one of them, but yeah, you've said it. You planted the seed.
All right, I'm happy for that.
Could it be the Salty Hippo ship set, possibly?
Well, this is it now. I've realised now. I think. Yeah. I'll try and get that in there.
All right, much appreciated.
Okay,
we'll ask again in the next podcast.
Yes.
Did you manage to ask the art design team?
Instead of me pestering Joe about Flameheart's hat, I'll be like, Joe, you asked. We had any news on the Salty Hippo ship set? We've got an update.
Give a status report on Hippos and Sea of Thieves.
Sorry to bother you, Joe. Just ping him for me Friday at 5:30. Okay, so yeah, do you want to take another one, or are we happy to swap over?
No. People are sick of my voice now.
No, that's not true.
No, it's far too modest, Captain Blubber.
I'm going to walk it back a bit here, Mike, and talking about. I'm going to put promises in quotation marks here because this couldn't really find a proper source for it, but I did make a video on it quite recently. It was based allegedly off of a forum post or a Q&A. I think you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I don't. I just like the word allegedly. I'm like, where's this come from?
I don't have a smoking gun that you said this, but allegedly you said that Pirate Legends would have a reason to return to the shores of gold. Allegedly, of course.
Yeah, I did say that.
Oh, you did say that. Okay.
I don't remember when and where I said it. It might have been a podcast, but I did say it.
So is that still on the cards potentially?
I will put cards on the table and give you a little insight into what we planned. So when we were designing the concept for the Veil of the Ancients voyage, so the idea of I'm not saying that was the be all and all that be all and end all answer for Pirate Legends in terms of content, but the idea of a modular system that's replayable. So a new way to upgrade the tools that we've got for Ebb Voyage to give players new experiences, but give Pirate Legends an exclusive story. The Veil of the Ancients Voyage, or the first, I guess, design, the first vision for what that would be, ended on the Shores of Gold.
Mm-hmm.
So around the time I was saying that, there was a plan around that to end it in a spectacular way on the Shores of Gold. When we actually got into the nitty-gritty of designing the Veil of the Ancients Voyage, hearing feedback from our players in terms of sailing time, repetitiveness, we focused on making the modules, and the idea was to have lots more modules, but a lot more reuse of existing gameplay. Whereas we actually focused on a smaller set of modules, but ones that could feel more different, more dramatically different in terms of what you tangibly do on the islands and on the sea. And we quickly, I guess, came to a conclusion that while it would be so cool to go back to the Shores of Gold, having that as part of this voyage added in so much sailing time. And even though I think it would blow people away the first time, it wouldn't really stand up to repeat play in the same way the modules that we went with. So the ending kind of finale of Veil of the Ancients moved from the Shores of Gold to what we had, which is primarily a sea-based battle against those sea forts, which really prioritizes the set-piece nature of it rather than just the location of Shores of Gold. All that being said, so there aren't any plans now. Do I think the Shores of Gold as an island is underutilized? Of course. It would be great to go back there as part of some interesting content. I just think we need to find the right story reason and then the right gameplay reason that really stands the test of time. We quickly decided that Veil of the Ancients wasn't it, even though as a first pitch for, we're going to go do this awesome replayable voyage experience. It's going to end on the island to end all islands, the Shores of Gold. It wasn't right when we put more scrutiny on it, design-wise.
That's fair enough. I think with Veil of the Ancients, we've discussed this with our crew.
Or Legend of the Veil, I should say. I keep calling it Veil of the Ancients, which is the opposite. Legend of the Veil, sorry, but people know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah. We know what you mean. So Legend of the Veil was, I think we were discussing Legend of the Veil shortly after it came out, and we've played it for a few months afterwards. Even I've done, I think, 45 at the moment. I don't get bored of the quest. Whereas I think maybe like digging up treasure for the gold hoarders maybe, but yeah. I think the way, not just the modules are set out, but also the variety of gameplay is, I guess, just, it's just a joy to play through, and you have this sort of, what's the word? The risk of people coming to attack you with that final module, and, it just gets the blood flowing. So I think when we consider that does make a lot more sense in terms of like gameplay design, that people didn't like the sailing of the original Athena quest, so why would you do it again with the Shores of Gold?
Exactly. We agonized about that in terms of what are the gameplay archetypes that we want to showcase in those modules that swap in and out. What's the time to get to the rewards? How do we make it feel more rewarding? And a lot of the thought process was around how can we make it for legends that it resonates with. How can we make it the de facto way to play Pirate Legend Voyages? Because the Pirate Legend Voyages we had are kind of fine, but that kind of medley approach of just throwing all the gameplay together, we wanted to do something much richer with Legends of the Veil, which is why we put so much scrutiny on it in terms of it's got to stand up to 45 replays or wherever you're up to now.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. And you segued me nicely into the question that is absolutely burning. It's been, pardon the pun, it's been burning for the last sort of maybe year or so.
Yeah.
So
the man himself.
Sort of.
Maybe not. All right.
So you might know what I'm talking about. So I'll read it verbatim. Some fans have speculated that Captain Flameheart and the Sea King / Great Warrior may have a connection of some sort, with the type of connection varying. Is there something more to him than meets the eye in that respect?
I actually saw that bubble up last night, actually, when people had played the latest adventure, the Siren's Prize. I did see that, and I thought that was very interesting. There's a connection, but not to the extent that people are theorizing. That's not to say that Flameheart story is not progressing by these adventures that we're doing, and things are going to hot up quite soon. What's wrong with your pun?
So, Flameheart is not an ancient then?
Flameheart is not an ancient.
There we have it.
Can confirm that.
Yep.
He's not an ancient.
There we go. From the horse's mouth. There we go. Just ruined my theory. I was hoping that.
Flameheart is through and through a pirate. Absolutely.
Yeah,
drawn and corrupted through power.
Okay, there we go.
Need to rewrite our videos now, but that's fine.
Yeah, but that's a bet.
It's a great theory, though. It's a great, honest. I love all that, and this is exactly what we hope players would do. Get excited about it. Try and build these little connections between different aspects of the lore. But no, there's a core bit of Flameheart that we've really got to pay off.
Right.
And Flameheart is a pirate in the way that the Pirate Lord is a pirate. That quintessential character who wants to live the pirate's life. They've just got a different vision of what they believe the pirate's life should be. One about the crew bond and about honor, which is what the Pirate Lord lives for. That's what he thinks freedom really is. You know, you can be a pirate and a good man. You know, the whole morality of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies in a way, which is why it lined up so well with what we did with the pirate's life. Whereas Flameheart is power and wealth through domination of others. Cool. They're just different visions.
So there's a slight connection there, but not as deep as the theories go.
Yes.
Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. In that respect, then, completely forgot. Oh no, I do remember. So at the time of the recording of the podcast, a Siren's Prizes came out yesterday, and we had a massive lore dump through the tablets. And this is almost to settle a debate between Blubber and myself. The Great Warrior and the Sea King, are they the same people? Is there an element of unreliable narration there? Or is there the Sea King and the Great Warrior as two different ancients?
They are two different ancients, but the concepts are related to each other.
Okay, so again, there's a slight connection there.
There is a strong connection there.
Right, fair enough.
Told you.
Okay, right. You could have waited till the podcast ended. This one's not as deep, but it does relate to skeleton lords. So, what determines the size of a skeleton lord? Because we have Flameheart, Gold Hoarder, Briggsy, Duchess, all those sort of skeleton lords. They're large, they're 7-8 feet tall. And then we have the Curse Captain, we have Wanda, and we have the Servant of the Flame. They're relatively normal-sized people. Is that just how tall they were in life, or is that a power thing, or something else?
I'm probably going to bore you now, or /shock you with how in depth this answer will be for something as innocuous as the size of a skeleton lord. But for what on the surface is a fun sandbox pirate game that we have, there's a lot of thinking behind everything that we do. It's why we're so passionate about it. So what we're really talking about here, and again, brace yourself, is the notion that Sea of Thieves is that magical world that does exist in the real world. It's hidden somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle in the Caribbean, and if each of us had the map, we had the route, we could all go there this weekend, have amazing adventures with the Pirate Lord. If only we had the map, if only we could chart a route through the Devil's Shroud. And it's the idea that, of course, we want the world to be this fantasy pirate world, but we want it to be rich with escapism for our players. And we want it to be aspirational. So the idea that you can be who you were always meant to be in the Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is a place where your dreams of adventure, mystery, treasure can come true. So it's the idea that the magic of the Sea of Thieves can make you who you were meant to be. And not all curses are bad, some curses are good. So in Flameheart's case, to kind of frame this, in Flameheart's case, the skeleton curse is not a curse. The skeleton curse is who he should be. He sees it as a positive. Flesh is weak. You hear the Gold Hoarder say that. He believes that being a skeleton is his true form. So the size of a skeleton lord or a pirate who gets cursed in that way. It's about the strength of their character and what's in their heart. So Flameheart is driven above all else by this burning passion for dominance and power and control of the waves. And that has literally taken on a physical form in his transformation. And it's a reason why, in a smaller sense, skeleton captains are the captains, because they were once captains in real life. So that strength of character and to lead their crew, they've almost preserved a little bit of that humanity. And that's why they can kind of organize the rabble around them. It's something as simple as a bounty hunt. You kind of see those captains in charge. So the skeleton lords are kind of an extension of that, in terms of it's their dreams, it's their aspirations, it's their strength of character being personified through a corruption curse. Flameheart is the size he is because of the strength of his character, for good or bad.
Okay.
That's the thinking behind.
You said that was a boring answer, but that was a fantastic answer. Thank you. That was brilliant.
That's the way, the level of depth we try and think about these things.
It just goes to show the sort of surface level people might think Sea of Thieves lore is quite straightforward. Definitely not. But when you get to the nitty gritty of those design choices, it really shines through in the storytelling and your answer there. Fantastic. I have one last.
It can be both, right? It can be both. I mean, I would never have the expectation that fans have to understand all of that, or read the books, or play the lore, or agonize over elements in Tall Tales or lore books, although the little rune tablets that were in Soren's Prize. It's there for the people that want to scratch the surface and understand the why of the world, because that is important. I think it's an important aspect of world building and immersing players in a world that can feel like a home from home. It feels like a world you can escape into. It needs to have a set of rules, even if those rules are different from real life. And that makes it more than just a goofy pirate game. But it can be that on the surface as well. It's whatever you want it to be.
Brilliant, thank you. And just one quick question, sort of link back to that whole character thing. Maybe not the right person to ask, but in Sea of Thieves we see a lot of music sort of personify the characters they're associated with. And one that's been burning in my head for a long time again, Who Shall Not Be Returning, and the Siren Queen's theme, Heart's Desire, share the same melody, and we hear it in the Shrine of the Coral Tomb. Is that a design choice, or is that because Robin likes the melody, or is there sort of a repeat of the motif there with that sort of? It's very
deliberate. That's very deliberate, and I think whenever we're designing any feature, but particularly any feature that ties into our world building, one of the first conversations I or the lead designers on the team will have is a conversation with Robin, because the way something is presented to you visually, musically, audibly, that's your first window into the mechanical experience you're about to have. So the choice of what the Siren Queen sang to you as you dove down to the depths in the Sunken Pearl, it's all very deliberate. And I actually, I'm kind of on a tangent now. I saw a bit of discourse at the time around A Pirate's Life that, this is something repurposed from some cancelled Flameheart Tall Tales, which was absolutely like, what? Like everything around the Siren Queen was designed specifically to make her a rich character that expanded the bounds of the Sea of Thieves world. But we wanted to lay the groundwork in terms of why would Davy Jones ally with the Siren Queen? And that was because they both shared the sorrow for who they used to be. A big part of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies is the pendant that Davy Jones has, and the sorrow for his lost love, that's Calypso, and that the Siren Queen had lost the Sea King. And they're both united in that grief and a hatred for the people that have got their freedom, and they've got people that love them, which pirates by extension. So the fact that she would taunt you with Who Shall Not Be Returning was very, very deliberate.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense in context now, that she's using that melody for a song that's about the morning after the battle, after people being lost, and then
exactly that.
Putting her lyrics into it is actually really good. I like that.
Well, that was the I remember the first thing myself and Robin got really excited about was when we were working on the Seabone Soul. It was that idea of we shall sail together. Is that exciting call to adventure, bonding together with your crew? Who shall not be returning is the day after. It's when reality bites and you lose someone dear to you, and the stakes really become clear. So it was written with that as the inspiration, as in, imagine it's the day after when something has gone horribly wrong. And then the idea that that was a shanty sung by a crew that the Siren Queen adopted to taunt you was the thinking behind it.
Brilliant. Fantastic answer. That's got me grinning from ear to ear. I love it so much. But yeah, that's me for my questions. Blubber, do you want to ask a couple more of yours? Your burning questions?
I know we're running out of time. Just quickly as well, just to because we've never really talked about this, but the whole sorrow, the tears, Davy Jones at the organ crying, it's a big reason why there's, the sirens have those crying statues. Mm-hmm. It all is the human face that is crying. That motif is all the way across the Sunken Kingdom. It is because of sorrow defines their culture. And they've literally built a civilization out of the failures of pirates, players. All the wrecks that have sunk down, they've created monuments out of them. So it's literally a place built of sorrow and failure, which is why that melody, Who Shall Not Be Returning, was that's her anthem.
Awesome, fantastic.
Do we really have only 5 minutes left, or can we scratch that a little bit?
You can go over a little bit if you need to.
All right. I'm just wondering if I should ask a serious question or not.
Go for a high priority one. Go on.
Yeah, I'll go in order of priority. So, as I kind of alluded to, I'm also a huge Rare fan. I love the heritage stuff. There's one character in Rare's history that's kind of having trouble finding his game, and that is Captain Blackeye. He did make an experience in Banjo-Tooie, but we want to see more of him. And he's a pirate. He should be great for Sea of Thieves. Don't you agree, Mike?
I do agree. Well, he keeps sneaking into description text for trinkets and cosmetics, which is always a lot of fun. And you must have spotted and this is an old reference now, but the Treasure Trove Cove reference that's on the opening cinematic on the front end. It's lovely to play with that stuff, and by and large, that's us on the team being passionate about, why many of us have ended up having a career at Rare, because we grew up with those games and loved those games alongside, the classics that we talked about today, like Zelda. They're in that same kind of group of, my God, dreaming of working at a company like Rare, being inspired by things like Pirates. So I think Pendragon's a big kind of, we've turned him into this 3-dimensional character in Sea of Thieves, but that's from Rare history as well. They are Arthur Pendragon from those Ultimate games. So I think there's always the opportunity to draw from Rare's past to create that bit of an emotional connection for our fans. I think we've done quite a lot of that, and I think we'll probably end up doing that more. And Captain Blackeye specifically, I always kind of grin when I see him, when I equip something. I go, there's that description text we wrote a few years ago. So yeah, it'd be nice to do something, but in a way that doesn't feel like it's just pandering to the past. We're actually doing something original and interesting with it. I think that'd be the main thing.
I agree with that.
Brilliant. Do you want to ask one more quick question and then we'll do the outro, Blubber?
Yes. All right. All right. Yeah, I'll ask another serious one.
You're picking the awkwardest one there. You're looking at the list, I'm sure.
Well, I have a lot of joke questions too, but I want to ask a serious one too. Because we have the renown system, it's great. Like, you get instant reward. It's great for your dopamine in your brain. Only it stops at level 100. Like, are there any plans to have it uncapped and only give us, for example, gold rewards, so we can keep that dopamine flowing?
That's a great question, and that we've discussed that a lot, and it's a real challenge in terms of trying to get players who are newer to Sea of Thieves feeling that tangible sense of progression. But fundamentally, it's a big driver for players who have been with us since day one and even before as part of Insiders, like those core engaged Sea of Thieves fans. Like, we want to keep them having that sense of progression as the season passes. So we're talking about ways that we can do that for sure. In terms of we've had seasons around for quite a while now. You know, we've got season 8, you know, coming in a couple of months, and like looking, I think in the future we'll look back and we'll try and like iterate on seasons. What have we learned? We've had enough of these seasons now. How can we do another revision of that system to really give players what they want? So yeah, nothing concrete yet, but we are talking about it a lot.
All right, happy with that.
I do have one. This is a really quick one before we do the outro. I have to pick between two, but this is the more interesting one of the two. So is the female warrior that caused the sirens to sleep still out there, or are those her remains in the Shrine of the Ancient Tears? You can do a yes, no, or maybe if you want to.
I'm going to say maybe on that one. Okay. There's lots of and this is kind of all obviously deliberate. But yeah, obviously the ancients. Doing more with the ancients, we really started doing that with the Legend of the Veil Voyage. We're really exploring that now with the ongoing adventures and the Dark Brethren. You know, obviously they've not gone away, so they're going to rear their head soon. But yeah, this kind of trifecta of the Dark Brethren, Flameheart, and the Pirate Lord. We're in this kind of war of wars, or that's about to happen, and the ancients are kind of part of that. And they've got this power and this mystery and this understanding of the Sea of Thieves. So there's going to be more of that unveiled in the coming months. I hope you like it. You see it.
Okay. That's a really good point to end it, because I know we're just about to run out of time. So thanks for that answer. That's perfect Sea of Thieves to end the podcast on. So with that, we've come to the end of the podcast. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Mike, obviously, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Obviously, we hope to have you on again in the near future.
Definitely.
And yeah, of course, couldn't do it without Captain Blubber. You know, he did start this podcast. You know, it is his podcast at the end of the day. So yeah, thanks, Blubber. And so thanks for listening. Drink some grog, and of course, play some Sea of Thieves.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.